blind Bartimaeus. Near the city of Jericho, a blind beggar, Bartimaeus, sat beside the road. When he heard that Jesus was passing by, he cried out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." People in the crowd said, "Be quiet, hold your peace." But he only cried out louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him to me." So they called the blind man, saying, "Cheer up, arise, he's calling you." So he threw off his garment and came to Jesus. Jesus said, "What do you wish for me to do?" "Teacher, we wish to see." Jesus said, "Go your way, your faith has made you whole." Immediately they received their sight and followed him, praising God. The crowd praised God when they saw them healed. As Jesus passed through Jericho, a man named Zacchaeus tried to see him. Zacchaeus was one of the top tax collectors and was very rich. He was also a very small man and could not see past the crowd around Jesus. So he ran a short distance ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree where he could see Jesus pass by. When Jesus got to the spot, he stopped and looked up into the tree and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for today I must stay at your house." Zacchaeus hurried down and received him joyfully into his house. The people in the crowd murmured, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." Then Zacchaeus stood up and said, "I will give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have wrongfully taken too much tax from anyone, I will give back to him 4 times as much." Jesus said, "Today salvation has come to this house, for he is also a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Jesus knew that the people were looking for him to establish an earthly kingdom immediately with him on the throne. Because he was also close to Jerusalem, he told this parable.
A certain nobleman went into a far country to receive a kingdom for himself and to return. Before he left, he called in 10 of his servants and gave each of them 1 talent, about 3 months' wages. "Trade with this money until I return," he said. But his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him to say, "We do not want this man to rule over us." Nevertheless, he was awarded the kingdom. When he returned, he called in his servants to see how much money he had gained from their trading. The first came before him and said, "Lord, your talent has made 10 talents more." And he said, "Well done, good servant. Because you were faithful in a little, I give you authority over 10 cities." The second servant came, saying, "Your talent has made 5 talents." The master said to him, "I will put you over 5 cities." Then one other came, saying, "Lord, behold, here is your talent back, which I hid in a napkin, for I was afraid of you. I know you are a stern man, for you take up what you didn't lay down, and you reap what you didn't sow. Out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew I am a stern man, reaping what I do not sow. You should have at least put my money in the bank so that I could have earned interest." He told the other servants, "Take the talent away from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. They said, "Lord, he already has 10 talents. The master said, "To everyone who has, more shall be given. From him who has not, even that which he has will be taken away from him." Those who understood Jesus would get more faith. Those who did not understand would lose even the little faith they had. But my enemies, who would not allow me to rule over them, bring them before me and kill them. After Jesus had told them this parable, he continued up to Jerusalem.
The Passover was at hand, and people were coming up from the country to purify themselves at Jerusalem before the Passover. They looked around for Jesus and asked each other as they stood in the temple, "Do you think he's coming to the feast?" But the chief priests and Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where Jesus was, he was to tell them so that they could arrest Jesus. Jesus was in Bethany, at the house of Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. They were having a meal for Simon the leper. As Jesus was eating, Mary took an alabaster jar of pure ointment, a whole pound, very costly, and she broke the jar and poured the ointment over the head of Jesus. She poured some on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of her perfume. One of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, objected. Why was this expensive ointment wasted? It might have been sold for a year's wage and given to the poor. Judas said this not because he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and stole money from the money bag. Jesus said, "Why do you bother her? She has worked a good work for me, and that she anointed my body for burial. You will always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. Wherever the gospel is preached in the whole world, what Mary has done will be spoken of in memory to her." People heard that Jesus was in Bethany and came to see both him and Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests counseled together to kill Lazarus, since many of the Jews believed on Jesus because of him.